Well, welcome to ClickUp for accounting firms. My name is Gray McKenzie. I'm the founder here at ZenPilot. And our big focus since 2013 has been helping teams get to healthier team dynamics, more productivity, more profitable operations. And the way that we do that is by helping teams streamline their operations in ClickUp. We're ClickUp's first. We're still their largest, and we are their top-rated solutions partner. So all three of those things really go together. I would assume at some point our focus on professional service firms will preclude us from being their largest solutions partner forever. But we have served over 3,000 professional service firms since 2013. And so what I'm sharing with you today, I share that not to say, well, this is a crazy amount of clients we have. You should be one too. I share that to say, hey, I've gotten to learn a lot from a lot of different people. I want to share some of those lessons with you here. And then our focus today, and I'm going to ask you all a couple questions here in a second. So if you will um, pull up the screen, if you'll have chat open and ready to go. We've got a large group today, so there's a lot to jump in and get through here. So have that pulled up and ready to jump in on. The big thing I want to focus on today is very simple, and that is improving the health of your client relationships. So how can you do a better job delivering meaningful results for clients while balancing that with the health of your team, which means relationships, controlling our sanity, not having chaos just take over our entire life. And also that should mean profitability is a piece of this too. So your bottom line. Okay, I'm going to ask you three quick questions here, two or three quick questions. First one is just, we drop this in the chat, please. What PM platform are you currently using? I just want to know, is everybody here on ClickUp or not? That'll change. Just a couple pieces of context will go faster if everyone is. If not, that's totally fine as well. But I'll try to make some connections here as we go. All right, Madeline, Marcus, Amanda, Konstantinos, Kenya, Kim. I'm trying to catch up on all these here. Judah, looks like a lot of folks are on ClickUp. Good. And a couple of folks are not on ClickUp as well. So this looks like 80% ClickUp. That's super helpful for me. Second question, I'm going to ask you for the same thing. Tim, thanks for that context. Can you rate your current PM solution on a scale of 1 to 10? And I don't just mean ClickUp itself. I just mean like, how is all of this working together? Your project management, your processes, your team habits, like are those three things, tools, habits, and processes, are those working together? Super great. That's a 10. We're utter disaster. This is a 1. This question is the only reason that I didn't open the chat up to everybody. I found folks are more willing to answer this if they don't have to throw it out with their name to a group of everyone, so only hosts and panelists can see this answer. Okay, cool. So I'm seeing a lot of 5, 6s. It's pretty typical. A couple people in here. I probably shouldn't call out anybody who's on the low end, but we've got a 9-ish from Konstantinos, which is awesome. And then we've got only one that I see in here so far. A handful of 2s and 3s. Okay, great. So keep that framing in mind. And what we're looking for, what I'm trying to deliver to you is kind of overall, what does the structure need to be? So I think we've got to approach all this stuff from like, hey, what's the end goal that we're after? And how do we nail this? And then I'd love for you to walk away today with 1 or 2 wins that you can go implement right away, or at least ideas to go implement from there. We run on EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, and in the quarterly conversations that we have with each of our direct reports each quarter, one of the openers there is what's working and what's not working. So I've had a couple dozen conversations with accounting, bookkeeping, virtual or fractional CFO type firms over the first half of the year here. And these themes just keep popping up over and over. Client work, visibility, like knowing right away if I'm the principal, I own the firm, or I'm leading the services side, and a client calls me up on the phone and asks me a question, like me being able to trust that actually our system's up to date and what I'm seeing in the system actually matches what we're doing. The visibility. So that's 2 things, right? That's one, like knowing where to look. Do we have the right dashboards in place? Do we have the right reporting structure in place? And then 2 are the inputs correct? So both of those need to be right for this to work. But visibility, far and away, that word pops up in almost every conversation. I don't know that deadline management is quite the right descriptor for this, but I use this one to say like, hey, are we actually getting work done consistently, out the door on time? And we know what the actual deadlines are, and we're consistently hitting that. So I've talked to a handful of firms who are struggling on that side. This capacity planning has not come up almost at all with anybody who's certainly sub 5 or 6 people, but even like sub 10 people. And pretty much everybody who's over 10 people has said capacity planning. Like, I'm not exactly sure who should take what account. And so I want to show you something today that may aid in that a little bit. Um, documents, and communication chaos. Like this is maybe most intensified in the accounting and bookkeeping firms of any of the types of professional, whether it's a marketing agency, a law firm, an engineering firm. Like it seems like a lot of folks are communicating all over the place. And they've got document storage, which should be one of the most fundamental things. Um, I either hear like, "Hey, it's crazy," oh, and usually I have to filter this out a little bit and say, "I've got an accounting brain telling me it's crazy. It's probably not that crazy in the whole schema of crazy." Um, but it's either crazy or it's just incredibly inefficient. And communication chaos, that almost everyone has said, like, hey, I've got clients who I just cannot get to respond to me on email. They want to text me, they want to call me. These people are using Slack, like we're using a bunch of different tools. And then this doesn't always come up under this term, processing consistency, but almost everybody says, I've got this really good senior tax manager. I've got this, staff accountant or something, or two different staff accountants, and they do things just in totally different ways. So I'm getting way better client results with one of them and not the other. So I want to talk through how we can get to more consistency today. There's a super long context to set up, like, or do any of these resonate with you? How would you describe what is not working well right now? Like, what's the number one problem to solve? Can you throw that in the chat for me, so that I understand where everyone's coming from on this one? And then I want to make sure that we tailor this to what those issues are. But do one of those fit? Maybe all 5 of those. You're like, yep, I can relate to all those. That'd be pretty normal. But does one of those fit more than the other? And I'll give you a second to answer that question and think through that. Yeah, a lot of visibility. Um, People, common theme. I know this is probably not the best webinar content as I'm scrolling through reading this stuff. A lot of number 4, document and communication chaos is in there. Okay, great. And then I don't know, some of you like a number of you have spoken to, or we've gone back and forth, and I know some of your firm dynamics. I don't know some of you who are saying capacity planning as well, and some I do. And I'm like, oh yeah, that definitely fits for your stage. Okay, well we'll spend a little then. Here's your last chance to object. We're going to spend a little bit less time on capacity planning. Um, we're going to spend a decent amount of time on like, hey, how do we centralize where stuff happens, getting visibility, um, and process. Like we'll spend a decent chunk of time on the process side. Sound good? Okay. Last piece of context, then we're going to switch over to ClickUp here. I just want to lay out for you. The goal is to create clarity across the organization. Um, we've got this, like our mission as a company is to turn chaos into clarity. It's not chaos into calm. There's a certain amount of, hey, we're managing a lot of people's books, tax returns. Like there's a million things that we're touching here. Calm is not the right word for this environment, especially during tax season. Um, but clarity, everybody knowing what's on my plate, when does that need to get done? Like, what are the issues in the organization? How do we systematically solve those? That's the goal that we're after from top to bottom in the organization. And the way that we're going to get there is the combo of the tools that we're using, which help us be super efficient and organized, the processes, which are making sure that we're doing the right thing every time, and we're getting better and better at doing it. Like we're building assets. Each one of the processes that we have, that is an asset, one of the core assets powering our business. And then the habits that we have. So without having strong habits, you're just going to be in a world of hurt because we could build the best system in the world with the best processes. Nobody follows it. Doesn't matter. Or follow it, but don't track it anywhere. Like largely irrelevant, right? We haven't solved that visibility piece if we do it that way. All right. So let's dive into ClickUp here. And let's see, where do we want to go here first? Let's go and just like high level zoom out because hierarchy, I can't pull up a screen with ClickUp and have people not ask about hierarchy. Um, so super high level. This may look a little different. And by the way, if you need help mapping this out, we build out a ton of blueprints for teams, like the map of, hey, what do we actually need in ClickUp? And if I zoom way out, you can't read a thing on here. But if we zoom in, like this is one of the core things that we're mapping out is what should the hierarchy of ClickUp be for you? What's from a space to a folder to a list to a task to a subtask? What do those mean? Where are we creating automations? What are the views that we're going to layer on top of that? And part of what makes that up, obviously, is what are our custom fields? So like, how do we use custom fields? How do we use task types? How do we do integrations? Like all this stuff. And your ClickUp design on a whiteboard is the blueprint. If you need any help with that, let me know, and we can definitely look at doing that. And then obviously that needs to culminate in, okay, what are the action steps then that are required as a piece of that? And so that's the end outcome of the blueprint process. Whether you do that with us, you do that on your own, like that piece, if we're trying to give clarity to everybody, that piece is super critical to be able to let your team know, hey, this is what we need to be doing. Okay. By the way, if anyone wants help with that, this will be up here at the end too. But my email is just great ZenPilot. You can email me. You can reach out to support at ZenPilot. Like you can go through. You'll wind up in the right place regardless. So my EA will jump on it if you shoot me an email. Okay. So hierarchy. Let's jump into this real quickly. We've got the growth side of the business. This is our marketing and sales, right? Like whatever we're doing for business development, how do we go win business? And especially in this service, if you have been around for more than 5 years and you're under 10 or 15 people, like you probably are spending very little time on growth and you're mostly growing through referrals. If you're 50 plus people, you probably have really specific things that you're doing to grow. So maybe super busy, may not be, but that's going to all live here in this area. Um, you all are number of people, so we can talk about some of the ratios of like, hey, where should our resources be going? We can talk about that in a second. Delivery, and then you all can correct me since we've got a lot of accounting folks here. Delivery, this is where we keep the promises that we made in growth. We told people, hey, we're going to handle all your bookkeeping, your tax prep. You don't have to worry about sales tax anymore. You don't have to worry about all these things. We've got you covered, and it's going to cost you X amount of money. Delivery is where we make sure that we truly do have them covered, and we do it profitably. So here we've got our client folders, our contract list. This may be structured a little bit separate. Like there are some tweaks for this depending on firm, but this is roughly how we're going to set up. Like, hey, what are the different things that we need to do? And then ops is the back end of your business. Sometimes at a large enough scale, this makes sense to split into multiple departments. Sometimes this makes sense or multiple spaces by department. Sometimes this can all be jumbled into one. If you're under 20 people or 30 people, this is probably in a single space. And you've got your G&A stuff, your people or HR stuff, your finance stuff, your legal stuff, like all lives in here. Make sense? We may have some other spaces, and I'll show you a couple of these today. We'll keep a live record of where all of our templates are at. We'll have records of all of our, uh, kind of internal type stuff, external clients, contracts, those types of things. We'll take a look at the health tracker as well. Okay, so I just want to share that hierarchy. The first thing is an accounting firm comes to me and says, hey, I've seen that you guys work with a lot of marketing agencies. We're a 30-person firm, and we need help just systematizing what we do and streamlining it all in ClickUp. And I'm like, this is there's certainly always an amount of unpredictability in any business. But of all businesses, you have one of the most predictable type of businesses in terms of what are the typical deliverables that are going to happen. There's going to be crazy things. Someone gets audited. Some client, just blows up for some reason. There will be things that happen with your clients, and you guys have even more horror stories probably than I do. But there's a lot of predictability in terms of what happens. So out of all businesses, yours make some of the most sense to invest the time in to go build out. What do we do when we're onboarding a client? What do we do when we're offboarding a client? How do we do annual tax prep? How do we do quarterly estimated taxes? How do we set up payroll? How are we running our financial reports, whether weekly or monthly? What are we doing for payroll? What are we doing for strategy? So each of these, we've got our what's the deliverable, and then you've got a set of, hey, what does this actually take to do it inside of that? And those are all obviously, not assigned at a template level unless you're super small to an individual. Those are set to a specific role in the organization. They all have an estimated amount of time. There's a specific timeline we want to get these done in. That may need tweaked a little bit client by client, but largely we can say, hey, roughly, here's the flow that we can have. And by building this all out as a template up front, this is the first thing to change your mindset about to really help solve this process inconsistency piece is, hey, we are going to take the time to invest in getting these processes right. If you need help with this is obviously what we do with all of our clients. Rolling it out, and then when we've got that senior accountant who is saying like, "Hey, I keep deviating from this, and it's working pretty well for me," then our head needs to go to like, "Hey, that's our asset for the business. Maybe they've learned something. They're onto something where we can make this better." I talk about this a lot with teams, which is the biggest driver of your team's ability to scale high quality outcomes for your clients is your ability to create, follow, improve, and simplify process. And so we're constantly looking, all four of those steps are important. How do they get created in the first place? Do we actually follow them? That's part of building it into the system. How do we improve them over time and make them simpler? Like all that needs to be a piece. So if I can take something that currently takes us 28 hours to do, obviously we're building this to accommodate like on average this is maybe the time that we're taking, but not that's skewed by some outliers who've hurt that potentially, or it might take more. But let's be realistic about this as we're building it out and then figure out, hey, how can we chip away at this? How can we go from this we got to start this on the 21st, and then we're not done till, whatever this timeline is here. We've got 3 weeks roughly that we're running through in this current timeline. Can we make that take a week and a half? And can we go from 28 hours down to 18 hours? Like, what would it take to do that? We're just constantly looking at ways to fix this. If you already have a lot of these templates built out in your ClickUp setup, drop that in the chat. Let me know. I'm curious who's got is crushing it on templates and who's not. Like, if you look at this and say, yeah, we've got, we can check the box. We've got all of those created. That's great. If not, that's an opportunity, right? And an awesome opportunity. Okay. We take those templates, and then we're going to deploy those live, obviously. So we've got an overview here. This Publix client is our client. We've got an overview, this is one of the cool things with ClickUp. Like, we can build and templatize all of this. So each new client that comes in, we can spin it up and push them out live with all this stuff. We can get all those templates built out, go live, and then we work our way through them till we're down to, whatever we actually need to do to set it up and run it. So then we've got our live work in the system. We are making sure each deliverable has a set of individually owned tasks. Those all get assigned at this level. Once it goes live, now it's no longer just assigned to that payroll analyst. Now it gets a real person and face set to it. The timeline gets refined as well. And now this person's got the process just go in and follow to make sure the payroll setup gets completed correctly. And sometimes it's a single person who's doing all these. More likely, you've got something where, hey, there's some mixed work to do in here. What that does, though, is it's going to create a system where now there's an assignee, there's a due date, there's an estimated amount of time. It's really easy for somebody to say, hey, here's my set of tasks due today, or overdue to what's due today. Here's how much time we've estimated that stuff's going to take. I can just work right out of one thing across I might be managing 20 different clients. So I got one place I can go and manage all that. Are you all using a home view right now, or are you using a My Tasks view or something, some custom place to go see what's on your plate today? Yeah, this one's driving me crazy. I see a lot of people saying dashboards. We've got obviously folks who've seen our content and they've got this custom My Tasks set up, which is great. Dashboards are probably like the slowest way to get it, but that can work too in some cases. I think for most of your team, they shouldn't be working out of a specific dashboard, though, separate from a custom view. I think they should just have a bookmark custom view. Or now that Home has enough flexibility, You can create this. You just can't templatize what that home view looks like for everybody across the team yet, which is why that My Task view is still super helpful. Okay. Um, we could spend a lot of time on like what does tasks look like to do that well. Um, but I want to get to a couple cool things that I want to share with you. So, how do we get? And I'm going to go. You guys are going to hate me. I'm flipping back and forth here so much. This visibility thing. So obviously the deadline management, part of how we solve that is every single task, every actionable task in the system has an assignee and has a due date. And we are making sure every single day that each of those tasks either gets done or since we can't do it in the past, it gets rescheduled. And whoever's impacted by the fact that now we've got to push something, those people get notified. Sometimes that's just internal, sometimes that's internal and it's the client. But we need to make sure that we're honest about that stuff. And if we're going to keep out of the chaos and we're going to keep to the deadlines that we set, we just have to have some accountability around what that looks like. There's that in and of itself could be two more webinars. I want to dig into some of this high level visibility, a little bit of capacity planning, what happens. So what we're looking at here is this accounting client health tracker. And I just have a list of each of my accounts. In this case, these wouldn't have to just be my accounts on the delivery side. There's different people who might be delivering them. And I'm just going to run you through a couple things here. We get the name of the account. We've got a due date, and this due date is used for some internal updates. We'll use comments for giving like a high level overview. Hey, here's what this person's after. Um, I'll come back to this AI summary in a second. Who's onboarding? Who's active? Who's still a prospect? Who's offboarding? Who's inactive? That inactive one is like a secret pot of gold in most accounting and bookkeeping firms. What's the client health? If you want to go crazy and get their NPS in here, we can build a whole NPS flow. That's a great calibrator. If I looked at this and said, hey, Bob gave us a 5 out of 10, but I think that he's a 5 out of 5, like this is a great tool to use for calibration. Like, okay, obviously we're not on the same page. What services are we providing somebody? What was their goal? So this, I love having my delivery lead, the person who's the lead on that client, looking at this every single week as they're going through and making any updates here, which will take them like 5 minutes to go do. And just know, hey, the whole purpose of our work with Athlete is they are trying to get this business valued and go sell it. They're in the exit planning and exit strategy stage of their business, um, which is great. But I can get so lost in reconciling this stuff or frustration about one specific thing that I lose sight of what the big picture is. So going back to what did the customer say? What were the client's words about what they're after here? We could go crazy with billing and integrating financial data. We do a lot of QuickBooks or Xero integrations into ClickUp. How long have they been around? This is really helpful if you're managing or measuring churn rate. So we'll skip over that for now. Sales lead. What does, who actually sold this? So if we're seeing consistent health problems, maybe it's, hey, Greg just sets terrible expectations. And then who's the delivery lead? So who's responsible for solving this? We may or may not have time to get to the email side. There's a bunch of other fields here as well. Okay, this AI summary field. So I wanted to show you a couple things that have to do with AI in ClickUp. Is anybody here paying for ClickUp AI? And if you're not, or are you exploring that? Drop that in the chat. I'll pay attention. This summary field comes out of the box. In my experience, there's a lot of people who are super interested in ClickUp AI, and the majority of our clients, when they come in, are not paying for ClickUp AI right now. I happily pay for it. I realize in the pricing model, like, hey, you got to pay team wide across your whole team. That can be frustrating. Maybe not everyone's using it, or certainly not everyone's using it to the same extent. But it just opens up so much stuff inside the platform. I'm going to show you a couple of those things today, not as a sales pitch to go, buy ClickUp AI. If you are buying ClickUp AI, shoot me a note and I'll try to get you connected with somebody good on that side to help with the upgrade process. But just so that you're aware of a couple things that are super helpful. So this summary, we've got some comments here. This was a handoff one. Hey, why did Bob give a NPS score of only 5? I don't know. I've reached out. This summary just gives a quick, and you can run this custom field on any task anywhere in the system. And what's cool is you can customize this prompt, by the way, too. So we can say, hey, here's, we'll give it whatever instructions we want, tell it when you want it to update. Do you want it to autofill when a task gets created? But quick overview of, hey, what's happened with a client. This can be super helpful. Now, um, this dashboard is cool by itself. We've got, hey, out of all our current accounts, who are fives, who are fours, who are threes, who are twos, who are ones. And if you want to go red, yellow, green, a different system, totally fine. We can view that same thing by different. We can group this view however we want. So if I just want to see, hey, who are all my clients who are onboarding, who's active, who's offboarding, it's gives me a good sense of, um, how to like, am I offboarding a bunch of people? I'm going to have capacity freeing up. I might not. Like this is one way we can go see it. I like looking at active accounts by lead, and I'm specifically looking here for like health. So Alex is crushing it. Kevin's doing well. Gray and Andrew not doing so well on the client health side. So, hey, how can I go invest? How can I go encourage and help the people who are doing the best job with it right now to do even better, get more referrals, upsell, etc.? How can I go coach the folks who are struggling or make personnel decisions when needed? We want to figure that all out. By the way, these are all custom task types in ClickUp. So each of these, Shroot Farms, if we go into it, you'll see it's a custom task type. Obviously, the properties that it has, it's got custom fields that are in this location, and then it can also have custom fields tied to the specific type of task that it is, in this case, a record. I won't go through all of these views, but I do want to take you through two other ones. And I want to just walk through the workflow of like what happens when a new client comes on board. Okay, so this calendar may or may not be helpful for you. We could customize this and we could say something like, hey, I want to color these by health score. This at one point in time, I was running a 25-person delivery team, and they were mostly having weekly meetings with clients. Fortunately, I've been fired from that role now, and that's no longer my responsibility to go do. And it was too many people to manage. But having this view of like, hey, give me client health and give me what day of the week they're having that meeting, so I know, I got to do some work to help out here. I just need to know where the issues are and go solve it. Anyways, you can do a bunch of cool views in here. I want to take you through this intake form, which I think I have pulled up over here. So let's just add a new client. Now, obviously, I could just add a new, um, I could add a new record here and put in the info manually. You may have a situation where you've got somebody closing it and you just want to make sure the data coming in is super structured, or this person might not even have access to all the records in ClickUp. So let's grab a new deal, give it a description, but not really. We'll put them in the onboarding phase. They want to be more profitable. That's not super helpful, but we'll put it in there. I forgot about this. So you can, if you haven't used ClickUp Forms, they've got conditional logic. You do need to be on one of the higher plans to have conditional logic, but you can see if I don't have bookkeeping selected, there's no POC email. Here it gets selected. So I'll grab, whatever. Hey, these are the services they're getting. When do they want to start? Who sold this deal? Billing status, invoice outstanding, any attachments, submit it. So I'll just show you what happens here. That gets added now into into our record of clients, and they don't have a health yet, so we'll need to set that. We can run any type of automation on this that we want. So we could have set an automation that says, hey, when they come in, they automatically start at whatever record. We'll take this. We could also change the task type. You can see this is just a regular task. We need it to be a record. So we can run all kinds of automations. Let's go in and let's give this. In fact, we'll skip over some of these things. I'm trying to figure out who do we assign this to. So I've got an AI agent that ran, and it's running when a task gets created via form. So this is like a cool demo of AI. And the agent is recommending Alex as the delivery lead here for this deal. And it's picking and explaining why they think that's possible. And it should be talking about what his capacity looks like, it's got an explanation that it's giving us. So I'll just pull up this agent here real quickly just so you can see how this is running. We're picking, hey, a task gets created by a form. Then here's what we want you to do. Your role is to act as the assignment coach. So you're coaching us through who to put on it. And we're basically going to look at what are the details of what's coming in. We've got some people who are stronger in different things. Alex is great at bookkeeping. ZenPilot's great at controller, tax strategy, or advisory. That might be great for Gray. We want you to consider workload and then give us, and we'll give it some example output to run in. It's a real simple idea for using this. Anytime that we're using this, I'm going to show you a separate example that uses a doc. I want to feed it a document that just has a simple structure of all of what are the specialties, who are the people who are available as options. And we want to make this document that gives it context on how to make this decision. Like that is one of the core assets that you have to help you in that way. So I might look at this and then I might say, okay, yeah, Alex sounds good. I'll put it in there. You may want to run with that right away. You may not want to run with that right away. Now we could run separately. We could have this go spin up all of our tasks, spin up the new client folder, all that kind of stuff. In this case, it would come in, I'm going to build out from a template here. I'm going to add a new client folder. So we'll add this in, use a template, new client demo. We probably want to remap all our due dates. This is why we cared about due dates in our templates in the first place, was so I can say, hey, they start on the 20th, remap all of those, use the template, build it out. We'll go ahead and build that out real quickly. I want to show you, I'm actually going to jump back and I want to show you a cool example of AI here that may be helpful for you as well. So let's just go to this. Let's see, I'm going to go to the health tracker. So we'll jump back here. Okay, here's the other thing I'm looking to build out as an asset for your business is I want to coach. There's a huge difference, as I mentioned earlier, between a junior staff accountant and someone who's been here. They understand the science. The classic example is when I was just doing account management for the first time back in 2011, and a client didn't reach out to me for a month. I was like, this is amazing. I have time to get all my work done. Like, this is awesome, right? This is exactly what I want. My clients aren't bugging me. I can just go do good work. Now that I've been doing this for 14 or 15 years, I realize, hey, that's actually not a good sign. Or it's at least a yellow flag. Like they're checked out to some degree. It may be fine. They're just busy with other things and they love what you're doing. Also, that can be a bad sign. So that's at least a yellow sign that you're not hearing from them at all, and that's at least noteworthy to say, hey, let me reach out, touch base, make sure that they're not checked out, looking at competitors, anything else. Well, there's 300 different signs like that would be super helpful to train junior people on and just take time. So how can we use ClickUp to help do that? So I might say for this new deal here, hey, it's been a week and they still haven't scheduled onboarding or their kickoff call. Should I be worried about their client health? So anyways, we'll leave some kind of comment or something like this, throw it in there, and then we can build an agent that actually looks for new comments or details on something. We could have it search for a bunch of different things. And then it's going to go through, read it, and if it flags the health thing, then it's going to leave a comment on this task specifically and tell us, hey, it's a yellow to red flag for client health. Here's what you need to do. Get in touch with them, both email and phone, multi-channel. If you're not training your people on this, like this is huge. We can't just go to email for everything. There's times to pick up the phone, go old school and do this the right way. And then, hey, if you don't hear back from them in 24 hours, escalate this internally. And then I want to tag our overall department lead, since this could become a churn risk at some point in time. So what we're feeding this agent in this case that's helping us out is we're feeding it on this client health coach brain. And so we're giving it, this is like one of the key assets you can make better and better over time. So it needs to know, in order for this coach to work well, it's got to know, how do you deliver services? What's the model that you use? What are the healthy rhythms when you're running? What are things that are high risk, like red flags? What are the yellow flags? What's a great sign? Same thing. Where do we go compliment people? What do you do when, any of these things happen? Are there FAQs? Like, all of this is a great opportunity to build out what's the resource, and we can go then build an agent like this. Um, Pick when and if we want it to trigger. We'll give it some example output. We'll train it on a set of instructions, and we'll say, hey, I specifically want you to reference and know this client health coach brain. So this is just kind of a simple example of using AI to help out, but this is one that's been super helpful for a number of teams. What we're trying to do is we're trying to elevate, like, we can only be as good as what we've learned so far. So our senior people, our best people at serving clients, like, that's our ceiling right now. How you're going to get better is you're going to work with outside firms, might be folks like us who've seen a bunch of these accounting financial service firms, might be specific consultants, might be going to events, meeting people, but you'll either learn it from people externally, or you'll hire different people and work your way through, or you're going to trial and error your way into it. However you wind up there, um, that's your ceiling, right? And that should be increasing over time. But the big gap for a lot of firms is like, hey, we've got somebody who's crushing this, who can do this really well. We don't have everybody at that level. And so using AI, getting this, like, what works well? How do we know what all these red flags are? How do we know what all these yellow flags are? How do we get that out of our head and into a system so we can spot that stuff and we can elevate our lower performers and help them mature quicker? That's the big power of this solution. Now, long term, like, how crazy could we go with this kind of stuff? We could pull on a bunch of different sources. We could pull all of the client related data that's happening here, right? So this new client demo folder, like, what's happening with tasks? Is there anything that we're behind on? We could pull all of that into Brain and feed it. So we could grab anything that has that client custom field or something along those lines. We could push all of our call transcripts if you're using a meeting recorder. Some people in here today have Fireflies or Fathom or any of these tools. Gong trying to jump in. So you feed all those, and you could use the ClickUp native note taker. If you're paying for ClickUp's AI, you should probably be using their note taker. Those all feed in the entire transcripts and recording as docs. ClickUp can process all of that. So you may have never created a task. You may have said, yeah, I'll send you that report by the end of the day. You said that on a call 2 weeks ago. There's no task related to that. We could track all your emails. So your emails here, we could be emailing with our clients and handling communication here. It already knows the POC email. I could send this. I could pull from a template if I wanted to, and email out. We may have never sent that, but in the call transcript, it knows, hey, you said you'd send something. Hasn't been in an email. Hasn't been addressed on a call transcript since. No task was ever created for it. And the coach could say, hey, you're missing this thing that you said 2 weeks ago that you would do. So we're just looking for ways to, like, how can we build assets to help our team in the work that they're doing with clients to do their work better and better. Is that helpful as an AI example? Anyone have any follow-up questions on that? Feel free to drop that in here. I know I'm already over how much time I wanted to spend in ClickUp, and I've got so many places I would love to still go with you. But that may be like the what I want to share is not just, hey, here's a health tracker. I am assuming most of you are already doing this somewhere in some way. Hopefully it's systematized. It may not be. And in fact, let's run this just so you can see if you haven't used AI yet. So you can see what this looks like. Hopefully it's systematized. If it's not, let that be an inspiration. But I really wanted to show, like, hey, here's how we can use agents on top of those types of assets to make our work better. I wanted to spend a little bit of time on client communication from ClickUp as well. But I think this might be the right place to go to Q&A. So I make sure that that's relevant. But just being able to communicate with clients directly out of ClickUp, if you want to, then you've got everything tracked. And now your agent can run on any of those replies as well. You can obviously give that agent additional responsibilities. Hey, don't just leave a comment. I need task actions taken, or I need something else taken. Okay. Um, Reporting is the one other place that I love to talk through as well. I mentioned earlier, like, hey, how do we make sure that we get visibility into, like, hey, did we actually get the work done? Do we have any overdues? How are we trending over time on overdues? Like, this would be pretty troubling if I logged into a real portal and this was the trend over time. Are we missing assignees on tasks? Um, so you got the activity side, and then we've got the results side of what's happening. Both of those we can build custom dashboards for, and help close the loop back to the visibility side to be able to go in and see, oh, I can tell where we are from a capacity planning perspective. Someone mentioned earlier, I think a couple of people mentioned, hey, I'm using the workload view, which is awesome, right? Like, so being able to go in and see longer term, I want to see something like this. Hey, what kind of capacity are we at now if we spread this out over time? And again, for this to be useful, you have to have a way to be getting tasks into the system, getting estimated amounts of time, and getting assignees on those. Otherwise, it's going to look like, hey, we've got work for today, but I have no idea once we get out into the future. And then even on a more granular level, like, hey, how are we scheduled out in the day to day? So this is the kind of thing that a PM would be focused on and saying, hey, it looks like we've got some issues here. Like Alex is fine, Gray's not used at all. ZenPilot has some work. Like, what can we front load to tackle this earlier? So we spent a bunch more time on reporting. I want to go back here, and I just wanted to say a couple things um, to this. Like the big push for all of you is really figuring out how do we flip our mindset from process is this thing that we make a push on every 2 or 3 years and we go throw in a Google Drive somewhere. But as soon as people learn it, they forget about it. How do we change from that to realizing these are the core assets in our business? We need to pull the best stuff out of people's heads, get it into the system, but into the system by itself isn't enough. Then how do we use it? How do we reference back to that and say, oh, in this documentation that we have, in the work that we've done, and the historical records that we have about it, how can we use that stuff to coach ourselves to make better decisions moving forward? Um, where there are gaps, we need to be able to create them. Once they're created, we need to be able to follow them so that we can learn and improve them. And then how do we simplify these over time? That's going to be the biggest driver of your team's ability to scale the kind of outcomes and client experiences that you want to scale. All right, 45 minutes, covered a ton. I've got two key messages for you. One, any questions, drop them here. I'm happy to answer them. Second one is I'm rooting for all of you. Obviously, I'm passionate about this stuff. Like, I love digging in and finding ways that we can build systems to make the human experience better across the board. So I want you to know I'm rooting for you to do this well. And I will pause here and see what kind of questions we have. Sound good? All right. Need any help? Shoot me an email, gray@zenpilot.com. If you have not yet taken the Product Management Health Benchmark, you can go to zenpilot.com/PM benchmark and take that. I appreciate all your time. It's great to be with you here today. I'm rooting for each of you. And let me know how I can be a participant in your success. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.